All right, and we are back with episode 12 of the Split Screen Experience podcast. I'm Andrew, joined by my co-host.
Hey, I'm Harmon. Don't really have a lot to talk about this episode, so been playing any fun games lately?
Well, lately I've been trying to 100% a couple of games, so I recently went back and 100% the spin-off Alan Wake American Nightmare. I'm currently working through Amnesia the Bunker, which would have been done by now, except the game deleted my save, so I had to kind of start over on a couple achievements, which I'm only missing 3 now.
Yeah, depending on how hard those achievements are, it shouldn't take you too much longer.
One of them, though, is you have to find all of the storage upgrades, which are entirely random where the bags spawn. So I'm just going to have to walk and search each room, every corridor, that kind of deal. So that'll probably be the one that takes me the longest.
I was gonna say, I could have one achievement left on Master Chief Collection. It's beat all the games on Lasso.
Right.
Oh yeah, it sounds you're almost done, but you have the hardest achievement.
Right. You've already done 699 other achievements.
But that last one's really gonna make you tear your hair out.
Right. Like the other random 50 in there that are pain in the ass aren't going to do that already.
Yeah, like the multiplayer exclusive ones. I hate when games, I get if it's strictly a multiplayer game and they have achievements for multiplayer, I'm okay with it. But if there's like a campaign and like the campaign's like a big part of it, please just either cut those achievements or don't add multiplayer achievements. Just don't add them. That's a big takeaway. Just don't add them.
Yeah, because if you say like you picked up a game now that's not in like a remastered collection, like Master Chief Collection, we say you picked up MW2, like the original MW2, and you want 100% that game, I guarantee you there's at least like 3 multiplayer achievements, because there's almost always the prestige in a public lobby, that kind of stuff. And you wouldn't be able to get that achievement reasonably today.
No.
It's just, you're setting people up for failure for 100%.
That's the reason why I was trying to get friends to like trick the matchmaking by us all queuing at the same time, because if no one's playing it, it should just see that a group of people in the same server or close to the same servers are trying to play.
Right. Yeah, because at that point, we're probably outnumbering the general population in those queues by a good amount.
Considering I sat in an invasion lobby for about 20 minutes with nothing. I can go to literally any other playlist. Doesn't matter how obscure the game mode is, but I think because it's in the ranked playlist in Halo Invasion I think that's why it's not as popular.
Mm-hmm. That's possible. Yeah, with having that many playlists, that's what you do kind of create, is that division of your player base, which makes it harder to find matches sometimes.
Something I always praise Black Ops 2 for. I praise Black Ops 2 for a lot of things, but you could see how many people were in queue.
Yes.
For the game mode. I always liked that.
Yeah, that was such a nice feature. And like you could say, okay, I want to find a game quickest. You just look for see what had the most people in it. You'd be the most likely to get a match. Yeah.
Domination or TDM usually, but
every once in a while.
There's still a surprising amount of people on Search and Destroy.
It's the best mode.
Yeah, especially when Xbox One wasn't a thing, and so you had to be in game chat.
Yep. That's one of those features gone. Like
you're just yelling at your friend, "He's behind you! He's behind you!" You can't protect him.
It's that scene from Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey beating on the window, looking at himself in the past. He's like, no.
I wanted to say it was Interstellar, but I didn't want to get the movie wrong.
That's the only scene from that I remember, because I watched the movie one time and I wasn't really in the mood to watch it. And so I ended up not liking it, but I need to go back and give it another go, because I've heard nothing but great things, but we'll see. Yeah, but that's one of those core features, like, locking you into game chat. Because, if you go into a game chat now, odds are either it's dead silent or you have people who don't know that they have a mic plugged in, unmuted, whatever. You have vacuums going in the background, more disturbing things hearing in the back, whatever it may be. But most of the time, just these lobbies are dead silent. You can go to a COD lobby and there will be no one talking, and that is so bizarre to me, versus before, it was weird to see someone without a mic or not talking at all in a COD game.
I remember clowning people for being in, because you could see if people were in party chat in COD. I remember me and my buddies would clown people for being in party chat instead of game chat.
You're trying to communicate as much as you can in a tactical sense for a game that is inherently non-tactical.
It does help.
Yeah, just back in the days where COD was fun. Take me back.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna go back anytime soon. But hopefully, with this, the Gulf War, is that what it's supposed to be?
Allegedly, yeah. So, yeah, Treyarch, their next title is allegedly Black Ops Gulf War to follow up Cold War with that little bit of a time jump there. Well, more than a little bit of a time jump, but they are going to do that. It's going to be more of a return to form, but they say this every single year. COD Zombies will be going back to round based, allegedly, which even if it does, it's just going to feel like Cold War Part 2. So if you loved that, you'll probably like this. If you didn't care for that, you're probably not going to care for this. And multiplayer, I'm sure it's going to be the same thing we've been seeing for like the last 8 years now. Well, not eight, but whenever, well, 2019, so 5 years, where we went to the weaponsmith system and it's been awful ever since.
I never really agreed with like the weapon blueprints
Mm-mm.
because half the blueprints, like actually good ones, if you haven't leveled up that weapon,
Right.
are pay to win. You have to spend money to get them.
Or counterpoint, you pay $50 or something for a bundle that contains like a Mastercraft blueprint. You equip it and it doesn't have good attachments, but if you changed it, it ruins the look of the gun that you paid for, or they nerf that gun immediately after it comes out, or they nerf the attachments or what have you. And so you lose value even more from a gun that might have been strong before, and as soon as you buy it, they're like, just kidding. Then it's useless. We used to spend $3 for a camo that went on every single gun.
You gotta love the Warzone effect.
Yeah.
Like I know they balance guns and multiplayer, but I
Mhm.
think Warzone kind of screwed a lot of balancing up.
Yeah. Even though that weapon balancing and all those like numbers for that mode should be completely separate in my opinion, because it's a completely different environment to be like kind of balancing these components on a different playing field entirely to try to relate it to normal like 6v6 matchmaking.
100-player lobbies compared to, no, 150, excuse me, 150 player lobbies
Yeah.
to 12-player lobbies.
Yeah, and like the idea of the map being open, like basically an open world map versus a 3-lane, sand or 3-lane, 25 foot by 25 foot map, pretty basic layout type of deal versus like a guy just laying in a bush, however many meters away, just sniping you with an AR that you can't even fathom hitting you from that distance. Great. Warzone's such a fun time. I know I've enjoyed it, and it's not going away.
Nope. It was unfortunately like the most popular game during the pandemic, so
Mm-hmm.
people are, it's Call of Duty, so people are still going to play it.
Yeah, they'll buy it even if it's garbage. They never have to worry about truly going out of business. I don't think they've genuinely made a Call of Duty that 100% flopped. The closest might be Infinite Warfare, but I'm pretty sure every single Call of Duty's made a profit. It's just varying degrees of success.
I'm honestly kind of surprised Infinite Warfare did flop because with the promise of COD 4 remastered.
Well, if you're talking about in the sense of did they move the units, I'm sure it did, but a bunch of people were getting Infinite Warfare for like $1 as like an add-on for COD 4. You could buy it the other way once, because originally they were like, yeah, if you buy IW, you'll get COD 4 remastered, whatever. It's like, oh, cool. When IW wasn't being received well, and it was, for at least at the time, the number one most downvoted video on YouTube when that trailer came out, and it held that title for a good little bit. I think it's been passed now, but they flipped their script on that and said, well, you can buy COD 4 for $60 and you get IW for $1. So I'm sure in terms of number of units sold, it definitely met their mark, probably. But I'm sure in terms of financials, it's probably a little more of a tight margin on that. People just weren't going to give it a chance, even though, again, campaign, I'll stand by the Infinite Warfare campaign is actually really good. Zombies started out good and went downhill. And then I did not like multiplayer. I'm not going to defend that one. But
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of Infinite Warfare. Campaign I recently beat like I think about a year ago. I finally sat down and played it.
Mhm.
Zombies, I've played maybe 3 games, but all my buddies just kept playing Black Ops 3, so I said, okay, I guess I'll just keep playing this.
Yeah.
So
We
then I
booted
never
up and then went back.
I never felt the need to switch CODs then.
Yeah. It's a really weird thing where you'll have a Call of Duty that kind of kills the momentum of the franchise, but warrants another game to come out after it. So you kind of just go back to whatever the most recent one before it was. Because I mean, with like Call of Duty, I mean, I've not bought one since Cold War. Cold War is the last one I purchased, and I'm not really thrilled with that I made the purchase either. But if I'm gonna go play a Call of Duty right now, if I'm wanting to play like something fairly up to date, that's the one I would go boot up. I'm not gonna buy Modern Warfare 2 or God forbid Modern Warfare 3 because I don't want those games on my hard drive ever.
You're talking about and play such a great game. It's just copy and paste.
Yeah, I wish it was just copy. Well, it's copy and paste from the last game, but it somehow made it worse. You took Makarov and like arguably the best villain in COD history. It's him, Menendez, those level of people, and you made him a moron, like categorically a moron. Where in the original Modern Warfare 3, he's this cold, tactical, precise terrorist trying to bring about his worldview. In this, he has he's like a very one-track mind. He's a very brilliant strategist, but he has one end game in mind. The new game, he has like 12 plans. He's like, I'm gonna blow up a subway. I'm gonna like rob the Queen of England. I'm gonna beat King Charles with a stick or something. Like he has a bunch of stupid plans that don't flow into each other. He's just trying to grasp at any straw he can get, and so it's like it doesn't make him look cool at all. Plus, you made him visually look way worse than original Makarov.
Yeah, old Makarov looks way better.
Yeah, it's like that man looks terrifying, even if he is like 5'6" or whatever. Like he's not like the most like physically imposing man, but he is a formidable opponent for Price, which makes him cooler because Price isn't regularly challenged that much by an adversary. Not like that, because that was very personal between him and Price.
Correct.
But can't have that anymore. No, we're gonna have Sakayev or whatever, who's going to fall down a nuclear silo, and then they bring him back for the sole purpose of, oh, well, he's in the Modern Warfare Zombies timeline. So that's cool, I guess. Did anyone care? No. But he's there.
They should not mix storylines. They should keep zombies separate, multiplayer separate, and campaign separate.
Yeah, because I'm a little confused about like what is the end game there? Because is it just to sell more bundles in the store, where it's like you can now play as Soap and Ghost and Roach and all these other people up against the hordes of zombies, and it's like, oh, we can make more money. Is that it? Because to me, that's the only thing that would benefit, because the narrative doesn't benefit from having all these characters that don't matter because they have no attachment to it. I mean, you could play as Price in Cold War, but you shouldn't, because he doesn't say anything remotely zombies related. Most of them don't, to an extent. They'll just be like, oh, got a bunch of kills. Oh, that dropped another one, which are probably just the multiplayer lines, if I had to guess. The only thing that he says in that game that's zombies related that I remember in like the couple games I used him was when you pinged perk machines, he would say the name and they have a little quip about that, but that was it. They'd be like, oh, Deadshot Daiquiri reminds me of Yuri, whatever. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember Yuri. Oh.
Yeah. COD wants, well, it doesn't even matter. They'll be the highest selling FPS franchise, whether we say they shouldn't be or not. Just because quick, easy games. You may not have fun, but you can at least get through a lot of games very quickly.
Which there is something to be said, about that type of game where you're not going to be locked into, like, let's say we're going to play Battlefield. We both know that if we're queuing up for a Battlefield game, we're going to be here for a while. To some degree, it's going to, or depending on the mode, I guess, but if you're in like grand operations, stuff like that, it's going to be a while. And COD is simple. It's quick matches. You don't have to be too invested. Yeah, you could quickly squeeze in a couple games real quick before you boot up something else. It's comfortable in that respect, but in terms of quality, it's just been so shoddy lately. And I know we say this every year, but it just doesn't manage to improve.
Got to give them one more year. One more year and they'll finally get it.
Every gambler quits or every gambling addict quits right before they make a gajillion dollars.
Exactly. We just let them keep going. They're eventually going to get something good.
Like, the hope here, I guess, is for the future. Hopefully, we can see the effects of it maybe in the coming 3 to 5 years, which would be a couple dev cycles away, or at least starting. So maybe a little longer, maybe 6, 7 years from now, under the hand of Microsoft, will they be forced to improve, or will Microsoft make them keep the status quo? Because I see no world where Microsoft is content with a franchise that's getting ridiculed annually now being part of their like core lineup.
Speaking of that, we're starting to get the Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass. Been a slow process though.
Well, we have one.
Diablo 4,
Yeah.
like they're coming.
It's like they couldn't even launch like again, I don't know why we couldn't see like a couple old CODs, Diablo 4, then like a couple old CODs start working up the catalog over time, but it seems like there's just gonna be like a date in this year, like December 31st, and it's just gonna be like every single game's there now. Just a big dump. Instead of just gradually increasing the value of Game Pass, which already has an insane value. I'm not trying to diminish that, but you know, if you could add them over time, I feel like that would be a more appealing thing than just like, here's 27 COD games. Good luck. And maybe we could get like a Master Chief collection, but for Call of Duty, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want that.
I mean, like I could get behind a game where even if it's like there's no campaign stuff in it, maybe we just leave that alone. It's just the multiplayer, a way to preserve those specific games where you could just go launching this title. I want to play Infinite Warfare. I want to play Black Ops 4. I want to play World at War. And you could just kind of go through there. Maybe you could have like a kind of do like the Advanced Warfare system where you had like an operator that you could kind of deck out and cosmetic stuff how you wanted without it being like an outfit or like a bundle you to buy more specifically. But maybe that would be something appealing. I don't know. It's, food for thought. They have to do something because unless they're just going to properly implement all kinds of anti-cheat on all these old games, they are still unplayable. I know that's like BO2's gotten better, and a couple of them got those updates where it seemed to kind of kick a lot of the cheats out. They are still there though. You could very much feel it in a public game, but it's not as egregious as like one of the matches I had on BO2 in like the last 3 years. He teleported us to a building outside of the map on whatever that big map was, where it's like a really tall skyscraper with like I think there's like big turbines and stuff, like just you're way above the clouds, and there's a building outside the map. He teleports you up to the roof, and then he just had a death machine firing hunter killer drones down at you. And I was like, well, this has been fun.
See, I had the opposite when I had a cheater in my game. He somehow was giving me all the achievements in Black Ops 2.
Oh, I mean, that's cool.
Like there were a ton of achievements in Black Ops 2 that I never got, and he gave them to me somehow.
But that's what I'm getting. Even if it's like a positive cheat, it's still, it's still there. That's what, maybe just a little bundle, little thing, little niche, little doodad. Or you do like what Battlefield 2042 tried to do with Portal, which like I never played firsthand, but I saw the idea behind it and it sounded cool. Where, at least from what I saw, it was supposed to be like you're kind of mix mashing the eras. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, for a COD game, that could work. You pick a couple couple maps from a couple games. You pick a couple weapon sets, kind of mix match. Just let people play around on the thing that's just kind of like, ooh, what are we going to get next? Ooh, a Black Ops 4 map, but we have Black Ops 1 guns. That could be fun. Maybe I'll give that Portal a whirl, because I have no interest to play the main game, but that did seem cool when they announced that.
People are still playing it. Because I know 2042 has kind of made a resurgence, but not to what it should have been.
Right. Well, because we shouldn't be having to wait for these games to come back on the upswing. It should just be they launch and announce, like, here I am, look at me, I'm beautiful. Not, well, let's give it a year, and then they'll finally get it to where it probably should have launched at.
Battlefront 2.
Cyberpunk.
Really any new game now.
And any multiplayer game, and a lot of the single-player ones. Which, multiplayer, I'm not saying it's acceptable for any game, but it makes more sense for a multiplayer game to not ship with all of its features than a single-player story game. Because if a single-player story game comes out and I'm like, it doesn't run, it's lacking content, it's garbage, I'm not coming back in a year because I've already made up my mental image of what that experience was. I'm not interested. Like at least a multiplayer game, it's like, oh, you probably didn't invest too much time. Like there's a lot of things working on. Maybe you could still have fun with it even being broken. I feel like single player games you cannot. Unless it's like Bethesda levels of broken where it's just kind of jank, but it's in a fun way.
You expect the game to have a ton of bugs, and it's funny.
Yeah. And like I'll say when I played Starfield, I didn't have, as far as I know, I don't think I had a single true glitch. Like I'm really trying to rack my head here.
Think I did either. I don't remember though.
Like I had some visual bugs. That's to be expected. That's every game now. I'm trying to think. Like other than like there's some things, but it's just like the game just being built in a really dumb way. Like the engine where like the NPCs all feel the need to make eye contact with you. So if you stand in neon, you'll just see a flow of people just walk by and all stare at you creepily. But it's not a glitch. It's just a byproduct of using a 15-year-old engine. So
Yeah, there is that.
but it's okay because we put band-aids on it, and eventually it'll be like a new gen. No, pay for Unreal 5 and use it. I'm pretty sure for like those level of corporations, it's only like $20,000 or something to use Unreal 5. Pay it. It's worth it. I promise you.
For a company like Bethesda, they definitely can afford it.
Yeah, it's like, and it might be less. Like here, let me before I talk out of my neck here, I'll pull up the exact figures. Okay, so you don't even have to pay directly. They get a royalty fee in future sales past $1 million. So I could maybe understand a little bit of hesitation on that. But either that or you need to be developing your own engine, which is time costly and monetarily expensive. But you need it. You can't be launching games. They're going to feel like games from that time period if you're using engines from that time period.
Right.
But I'll get off the Bethesda hate train because I know we've pulled into that station a good couple times already on this podcast.
Well, they just have been taking too long to make sequels to games that should have come out by now.
Yeah. Like I know it sucks waiting for games, and so to see all these fans of like wildly popular franchises waiting a literal decade between releases feels bad. Like again, here's my Alan Wake section of the podcast. I was a diehard fan of the first game. It was a very niche game. Not a lot of people played it. Not a lot of people bought it. It bought enough to warrant it's successful, but not enough to be like, oh, that's one of the hallmarks of gaming, anything like that. Skyrim is absolutely one of the hallmarks of gaming. And for it to have gone this long, just getting remastered over and over again, instead of getting Elder Scrolls 6, kind of blows my mind. It's one thing for Fallout 5 to be a ways off because of Fallout 4 being that kind of mixed reception where I think we all were really happy with it when it came out. Then we all kind of settled into it just being like, it was okay. It's not the worst game you've ever played, but it's not the best one either. It's just kind of middle of the road. I'd give it probably like a 7 out of 10. I enjoy enough about it, but there's some things I don't love.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But so like if they wanted to take some time away from Fallout, go, okay, we got to rethink some things. Like let's figure out what is a more like finished storyline before we start actually developing the game. Where I feel like 4, they had a good start to that story, just really didn't know how to wrap it up or how to branch it off into each faction. So you just kind of ended up with like the 2 core endings and 4 factions to split them between. So it just kind of flubs. Like the premise is cool. It's like, oh, you were in cryo, your wife's or your spouse is dead. Go find your kid. Okay. It's derivative of 3, but it's better than 3 because this game isn't boring. So
You don't like trying to find your dad for ever?
yeah. And it's you get to the point where it's like, oh, he went that away, he went that away, he went that away. Oh, he was just here a couple of hours ago. He was here last week. And then you get to a certain point when you're like with Madison Lynn or whatever. Lee.
I think Lion.
I can't remember. But she's like, oh, your dad was here like 20 minutes ago. Or like 5 minutes ago, something like that. And it's like, I used to be able to step outside, see that dumb lab coat in the wasteland then. But allegedly that whole reasoning was your dad was going to be a super mutant and it was going to be like a big reveal, and then they changed their mind. So too much of the game had already been done by that point, so they kind of just like, you're chasing ghosts. And that's not a really fun story to have. Because that's what Fallout 76 ended up being, funnily enough, before all the NPCs got added, where the only story was you looking for the overseer who was always just a couple days ahead of you.
Correct.
Not compelling.
Dope. I think I did like maybe halfway through of trying to find and said, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I got it from my friend who was game sharing it, and then what was it? So we played for about a week, and I said, I don't like this game. I'm gonna be gone now. He stuck around for a little bit, then he gave up on it too. Then we came around when when the Settlers came in, yeah. And that actually really did improve the Fallout 76 experience. Once again, a game that if it launched like it is now, I think it would have had a community. I mean, it has a community now, but I don't want to downplay that, but it is very small. It is basically the survivors of an apocalypse of players coming in thinking it's garbage and leaving. Some stuck around, some came back to it and found, enjoyment, but because like the whole thing where you can have like multiple bases now, stuff like that. There's actual quest lines, there's NPCs. The events that they do seasonally are pretty fun. They have one for Fashnacht, which is like a West Virginia paper mache mask thing, which I actually want to like attend because it sounds pretty fun. But you can go like every hour on the hour. I think it's either every hour or every 20 minutes in this little town that's like the real town that it would happen in West Virginia. You can like follow this little parade around, and if you do, you get a cool mask. Stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's a fun little thing. It's just every once in a while, it's like, oh, yeah. But again, the damage is done.
Yeah, I hope just games in general that should have been well received can at least try to recover to a point of where it's playable.
Right. Because I think you and I both remember, when we were kids, when you got a game, that game worked. I never got a game out of the box, put the disc in, and went, what do you mean the servers are down? Like, I don't remember Halo servers ever going down in my head. At least, my memory. Anytime I boot up like Halo 3, never had a problem. It's not to say there weren't design issues in some of these games, but they were functional. They just might have a couple things where the developer didn't intend for you to like abuse certain mechanics, but that's more on the player base.
Right. But I think with that last statement, we're going to wrap up episode 12 of the Split Screen Experience. As always, I'm your host, Harmon, joined alongside
Andrew.
And we'll catch you next week. Be sure to check out both YouTube and Spotify.
Yep. Be sure to support all the videos on YouTube. Like them, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends, grandma, pet with an internet connection. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next one.
See ya.